G'day guys, back again. So I noticed a couple new subscribers. Thank you very much, whoever you are. I really appreciate it. I've only got there's not many like a protected species at this stage, but thanks very much. The more the merrier. Yeah, I'm going on someone else's, I think, channel, YouTube, podcast, whatever. They're going to interview me, and we might even do a tour, a couple of different places, and I'm going to take those guys on a bit of an adventure. Be an eye opener for them, that's for sure. So anyway, this one's about my friend Brian. What was that? Port Phillip prison in 2000, year 2000. Yeah, yeah, 2000. So we're staying. I mean, I just got out of Charlotte. I was in Alex North. Now, at the time, it wasn't. It was very, very relaxed, quiet unit. There was not any drama that I could see. There was a lot of people there that I knew were hiding. Not hiding. Yeah, they were hiding pretty much. They must have been hiding because, well, I know a couple of them were returned soldiers. So returned soldiers means they'd been in protection and then came back to the mainstream. So there was a couple of guys there that had done that. So I knew it was a bit of a soft guys unit. I was there. I just got straight out of Charlotte, straight there. I'd never been to Port Phillip before, but I didn't know where I was going. Not that I had much choice, but yeah, I didn't really. It just dawned on me over time, it's by the heads that were there and the feel for the place. So it was a quiet unit. Me and Ack over there, Johnny Ack, who you might have seen on TJ's videos down in Richmond. Very, very good friend of mine, Johnny Atkinson. Shout out, Johnny. Me and him were standing around. We shared a cell. Anyway, watching a game of pool. There was my friend. They were sitting on a row of plastic seats. Now the plastic seats are all moulded together. So it's a row of probably 6 or 8 seats, I suppose. Just just little seats. You're all sort of bunched up together when you're sitting on these seats. Anyway, Brian, my friend, must have been sitting right on the end. He's sitting right on the edge, on the end seat. Now, the young guy that is part of this story, very, very quiet fellow, first time in prison, very friendly. Obviously, he was in this unit. I don't know how the earlier part of his prison sentence had gone, but he didn't seem to mention any issues. Never would have picked this guy. Anyway, so he was able to move around because he was never, ever deemed a threat or it was just dismissed outright. But for some reason, he sidled up to my friend. I wouldn't have noticed. No one would have noticed except for the fact that just all of a sudden, as we're watching the pool game, there's probably 10 people standing around the pool table. There wasn't much room, maybe, I don't know, 6 feet or so between the wall and the table and the chairs or whatever. Brian's on the end. This other fella's come up to the side and he had the pool cue in his hand by the skinny part, sort of at the top, so that the thicker part was gonna be his like a baseball bat style grip. And he sidled up to Brian, but just out of the blue, I just caught it out of the corner of my eye. This guy has just out nowhere, we've got a big wind up and crunch. And it's caught Brian fair across there. Bang! Crunch. And I just caught out of my eye and looked and sort of cracked. Couldn't believe it. And as he hit Brian's face, Brian's jumped up. He was a tall guy, a tall, skinny guy, a spindly 6.5, tall guy, skinny, tall guy, long hair. He was a quiet guy, harmless, also a bit doofusy. Probably said some silly things to this other guy, who knows. But anyway, as he whacked him, as full force across, cracked him right across there. Brian stood up and all his hair's gone forward, so he couldn't see anything, and he's hit the ground. And the fellas just latched onto him and just was punching the absolute crap. And Brian was like, get off, get off. And as he was sort of trying to hunch over, and the guy's trying to hit him, blood was just gushing from his face. It was absolutely pouring. I could see the blood pouring in. Couldn't see his face. See the blood, and Brian yelled, "Stop, stop, stop." By then, the screws had come, and someone had grabbed him. Like, even we were grabbing him to stop him. Like, he had just demolished Brian's whole face. But just the crack of his face was devastating. So the follow-up was pointless. So in the end, the wash-up turned out to be, I saw Brian a year or so later, and he had a massive scarred-up face. He still had his jaw, teeth and all that wide up. But he got 2 broken eye sockets, 2 broken cheekbones, 2 fractured jawbone. Like, his whole face was just crashed. And we never found out why. As the guy got dragged off, he was screaming and yelling, "I'll kill you." Like, this was from the quietest guy. He was like an absolute churchgoer. I swear, he was the quietest. He would never have picked it, and just for apparently no reason. Smashed Brian's face to pieces with a pool cue. And he got dragged off, screaming and yelling. Never saw him again. And Brian went to the hospital, finished his sentence there, sued the prison, got a big payoff, a couple $100,000 payout, and blew it all in drugs within the first 12 months of getting out of prison. Poor fella. I don't know how Brian's going now. I haven't seen him for a while. But yeah, and we never saw Brian again in that sentence. I never saw the other guy again, ever again. And that was that. Just out of nowhere. Quiet as you like. And then the unit just, there's a lot of talk around about, "Oh, man, I wonder what was that about?" He was there, right? There was a lot of gossip and speculation, but no one knew why. No one knew what for. No, it was just one of them things. I think it was a professional, what they call a professional bail. But the guy was only already in the quiet unit, and I think he was that scared to go to other units and move around the prison. I assume he had a bit of an issue, maybe, or an incident at the MAP or the submarine or somewhere earlier in his sentence. And this was his chance to get out of the mainstream system where he was going to be. He would have been, not necessarily attacked, but he would have been targeted at some point just due to his easygoing nature and his mannerism, the way he was. He would have been approached, and people would have tried to get it over him. Unfortunately, I can guarantee that happens. He was one of them guys. He just would have attracted people. So I think that must have happened to him, and hence the professional bail. Poor old Brian's head got smashed in with a pool cue. That was in Alex North in Port Phillip in the year 2000. So you can check that. So I know the Olympics had just finished. Yeah, the Olympics had finished. And, that was that. So that's the story of pool cue attack on poor old Brian, with his head smashed in pieces. Anyway, guys, that's just another quick story I thought I'd put on here because you guys, took the time to subscribe. All 20 odd of you, however many there is. If you're interested, let me know. I appreciate the subscription. I appreciate anything. See you guys. Until next time.